So now we're ready to hook up a hub. Now that I've hung the transformer, I've ran my home run around to my hub location. What I have here is my main 12-2 wire for my home run, goes back to the transformer, supplies power to my hub. And in this scenario, I have 4 fixture wires that are all going to be connected together. Some of the benefits of a hub, it is a central point of connection. So rather than having 2 connections at every single fixture, we have 1 central point of connection. So that's less connections in the ground. And really, if you want to be technical about it, it's 0 connections actually in the ground with a hub wiring method. Everything's housed in the plastic enclosure, grease-filled wire nuts, mechanical style connections, very positive connection style, bulletproof. Also, some other benefits of having the hub wiring method is it does supply equal voltage to all the fixtures that it's connected to because of the nature of how it is connected. And it also allows you to have movement at all the fixtures. So rather than having each fixture kind of just more or less daisy chained to a home run wire, we have 15 feet of wire lead to every single one of these fixtures. So in essence, if a plant were to grow and consume the fixture, you can go back to that fixture and just easily move that fixture out away from the plant to properly illuminate it again. So here's what we're going to start with doing. We're going to take our 12 gauge wire. All wire is identified by in polarity. So for instance, this wire here, you have white writing on one of the wires. So if I separate that back, you can see that's on one of the wires, and on the other is just black with no writing. Even though polarity is not a factor in this situation, we're still going to keep track of it, and I do that just to keep everything organized and well put together. What we're going to do is I'm going to call the wire with the white writing I'm going to use as my common side. I'm going to take my fuse that comes with the satellite hub, and I'm going to connect it to the common side of my home run. Put my brass lugs on there, and if you look at this brass lug, I'm always going to have the threads facing down towards the insulation of the wire. That's the correct way to install these lugs. I'm going to make sure that this is nice and snug. And once it's snug, I'll trim any excess copper off the end. So that's a nice tight connection. Now what happens is on my common side I have this fuse, so anything that happens, if I have a direct short, let's say a shovel gets put through one of these wires, something were to happen, one of the fixtures, and it creates a dead short, that's going to send the amperage always back to the power source. So to get to that power source, you got to go through this fuse first. If it's excessive amperage, what's going to happen is it's going to blow the fuse that's inside of this. Okay, now the satellite hub does come with 2 different fuses. It has a 20 amp fuse as well as a 10 amp fuse. So depending on how many lights you have and what your load is on the wire, you might want to switch that 20 out to a 10. In this scenario, we have 4 fixtures. They're 4-watt LED lamps. The volt amps on these are roughly 6.62 VA or so. So in that being said, I'm probably going to take this 20 out here. I'll go ahead and insert the 10. But we're always going to double check this. When we do our critical 3, once we get everything hooked up, we're going to double check and make sure that this is the right choice to use here. Next step, I go through all my fixtures and I separate them out as well. So again, all wires identified in polarity. This doesn't have any white writing, but if you were to see it, if you could get a little closer, you're going to notice one side is actually smooth and it has writing imprinted into the wire or stamped in, and the other side has some small ridges. So I'm separating that out accordingly. I'm going to use the side that has the stamped in lettering as my common side. I put all these together. Notice what I'm doing here is I'm taking and I'm making sure all my insulation is lined up. So I don't have one piece of copper hanging down way lower than the other. I want to make sure that at the end of the day, when I connect all these together and I put my grease cap on, that nothing is hanging out below that cap. And subject to water intrusion. Okay, nice and tight. Trim off any excess copper. Now the only connection I have left to do are going to be all my hot wires from my fixture to the hot wires, or to the hot wire or side of the home run. my 12-2 cable. Also, another note as I'm doing this, I'm going to talk to you guys about some general rules I have. You know, one is you always want to follow safety guidelines. You never want to hook this up live. It is 12 volt. However, it's just common, it's good practice to make sure that everything's disconnected. As we speak, nothing's even connected to the transformer. And I suggest you probably do the same. Again, holding it with my pliers to make a nice tight connection. Come in here and trim everything off. So here we go. We have our 12 gauge wire connected to a fuse. That's the common side. That common side goes to the common side of the fixtures, and then my hot side of the 12 gauge wire and all the fixtures connects together here. Once I check this voltage, then after that, and I know that everything's fine, I'm going to go through here and I'll actually put these grease caps on. I can do one side of the common because I do have two sides of it, open right now. I'm going to go ahead and cap that off. And if you look at the inside of these grease caps, you're going to see that they are full of a silicone-based grease. Doesn't harden when it gets hot, doesn't become runny when it gets, it doesn't harden when it becomes cool outside or cold, and it does not run when it becomes hot. So this is a great grease, and once you put that on there, and you're going to notice the threads on the bottom of this lug right here, and there's also threads on the grease cap on the inside here. When those mate together, you twist them together and it retains it so it doesn't fall off. So it's a fantastic connection. And again, all that comes with the satellite hub, part number SHUB in our catalog. It's all in one.